always comforting when it says the recording in progress.
Mhm.
We set it up right. Welcome, everyone. We are so glad you're here. We're going to give just a second here for everyone to load in if they're joining us from the waiting room. We hope if you're in a part of the country that's been snowy or icy, that things are melting and getting back to normal, and everyone's safe and warm. Um, I'm just here real quick to start us off. I'm Erica Shoemaker at the EdTech Leaders Alliance. Unlike what my name says, Learn 21 webinar. I am so delighted that you all are joining us today. We have, I think he's a legend in Ohio EdTech. He was COSID's Volunteer of the Year. He does so much for those of us who have earned our CETL awards. I know Kevin and I are both grateful to Mike for leading us through the CETL exam and everything. And so we're just so happy to have Mike here to share his expertise and his tinkerings as well. I know he's building what he's been doing in vibe coding. So we're just so excited to have him here. And I also just want to say if you love this webinar and all of our webinars, you can follow us, go to our website. I put it in the chat there at techleadersalliance.org and see what's coming up and sign up for additional webinars. And that's where we will keep everything posted. So we also have Kevin Gantos here from Learn 21 and the Tech Leaders Alliance. And these two, with their immense skills, are going to talk to you. They know so much more about coding than I do. And so the conversation is going to be elevated by me taking a step back. But if you have questions, if you want to ask anything, I'll be watching the chat. If they don't see something, I'll make sure that they see that. And I'm going to turn it over here to Mike and Kevin. Thanks, guys.
Erica, I wish I would have had my microphone unmuted when you said that because I laughed so loud. I even changed my at the top too, so that it would just be legend Mike Daugherty, not just Mike Daugherty.
It's
Well,
perfect.
good morning, everybody. Yeah, as Erica said, we're here today to talk about vibe coding and kind of what you can do with it. I've been tinkering. Kevin and I have had this conversation. I've been tinkering a lot. Both of us are. Well, hold on. I don't want to. I don't want to put you in the same bucket as me, Kevin. I am a former coder. You might still be a current coder. I don't know how much coding you do in your current role.
I don't do as much as I used to, but I still do pull up my Visual Studio and I review code, and sometimes I have to jump in and write some code. I always like to impress the co-ops from time to time because, they look at me now as like, oh, CEO of Learn 21, what does this guy know? And I go, here, scoot over, let me show you. So it's always fun to kind of have that opportunity to still show that I know how to
Exhausting.
do
I
some
can
coding.
I can still do the things. Just you wait.
That's
I can
right.
still do it.
Yeah.
Um, but I think so. As we get into vibe coding, I think one of the things I love about it is that it really doesn't require any actual coding knowledge. And the plan today is we're actually going to build. I'm going to show you a couple of the apps that I build, and then we'll build a couple things on the fly. But that's what I love about it is that it's essentially it's coding with natural language. So I don't know where the origin of the name came from, but it really is like you're just coding something quick, something that you need. Um, so I don't know. I guess the best thing to do is why don't I show off a couple of little things that I've done? We'll talk about those, and then we'll talk about the different platforms, and we can get in there and we can build one on the fly. That sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen. And we'll just do the whole darn thing. So when I first started vibe coding, really I did it a lot more for personal reasons. And the reason I did that was it was just easier for me to find uses for what I might want to do. So this one, I don't think Kevin has seen this one yet. I coach soccer. So I just needed something very quick to help me build my soccer lineups. So that's exactly what I asked. We're in Google AI Studio, which we'll talk about in a minute, but that's exactly what I asked Google. As I said, I coach soccer. I need to have a roster where I can drag and drop kids onto a playing field. What you're seeing here is pretty close to what it did on the first run through. There were a few things that I added, which we'll talk about, but for the most part, it's very simple. I can take my players and just drag them to where they're going to be during the game. If I've got kids that aren't going to be there, I just grade them out. And you'll see once I fill up all the spots here, I got to move the window so I can fill them. And we'll say this person's going to sub here and this one's going to sub here. And I scroll down and it gives me a printable lineup card and then who's subbing in for who, right? So, and then if I go over, I can do the same thing with second half and it resets. So I built this mainly because I had a problem and there wasn't a quick, easy solution for me out there. Are there spreadsheets out there that can do this? Yes. Are there some kind of weird web things that will do it? Yeah, but it didn't fit my particular situation. So that's kind of where all of these apps came from. So I'm just going to pick a few more and then we'll get into practicing and playing with it. I've got one for onboarding new employees. So one of the things that Kevin and I did talk about prior to this webinar is that from the IT side, onboarding and then offboarding somebody can be quite a process. And there's a whole, like essentially spreadsheet you got to follow on all different things you got to do. I wanted to build something that would help me track it. So if I just quick fill these in, we'll say this person's certified. The start date is today, not.com. So this gives me my onboarding checklist. And you'll see as I go through things, it slowly moves it along here. It'll help me generate a welcome email. These are designed to give notifications to other people in the organization that we've hired somebody. I can have any notes. And then when I get back to the dashboard, assuming I'm onboarding multiple people at the same time, I've got a running list of all the people that we're bringing on. For those of you that have gone through the CETL cohort, both Kevin and Erica did, I built a quiz system. So really, you pick regular or hard mode, you pick one of the CETL domains or all of them, and you do start quiz session. And what it does is generates brand new practice questions on the fly. So Kevin, you went through the program. One of the things that I heard constantly is that, you know, we've got X number of practice questions, but after you've done them a few times, there's almost memorization at that point. So I built an app that essentially uses the text and will build new questions for you every single time. It keeps track of how you're doing in each of the areas. So after you do 10, 20 questions, you can see, ooh, I'm doing good here, not so good down here. Again, regular and hard mode. All of what you're seeing, I didn't code any of this. It was me simply asking Google, hey, can you make this? And if you look, I know we're going to get into it, but it's got a history on the left-hand side. So this is what I said. This was my input. Tweak the answer creation a little. After beta testing, users are saying certain words or phrases make it clear what the correct answer or incorrect answer should be. Try to vary the word usage. For example, blah, blah, blah. It took that and created a revised version. I didn't go through and code and say, don't use these words, don't use these words, use these instead. It took that feedback and built it all for me. So hold on, let me stop screen sharing for a second. So we don't, where's my stop?
You stopped.
Oh, good. Okay. So Um, that's really it in a nutshell. It's essentially just asking the engine to build you whatever it is that you might want. Um, so I think the best way to do this is just to play with it in action. Um, I had a couple ideas in mind, Kevin, but is there any thought on an app that you might want to build, and we'll do it
Mm.
together?
You put me on the spot. So,
It's again, I have some practice ideas,
okay.
some
Yeah.
some quick ones that we could try.
Yeah. Nothing comes to mind yet. So why don't you start with
Okay.
one and then I'll see if I get inspired.
So one of the ones that I played with a little bit, and I built it once before. I didn't dig deep into it. Was tracking employee time off, right? Maybe whatever your current system that you're using isn't great for that. So let's build one and see what happens. So first thing I'm going to want to do is just head over to Google's AI Studio, which is oh wait, hang on, I got to
This
go
is
back
how
to
you might want
sharing.
to share your screen again.
Yeah, my bad.
And as you're pulling that up, I guess just to give people some context, there's a lot of different tools out there that allow you to do this vibe coding process. There's dedicated platforms like the Google AI Studio. There are options that are available through OpenAI, through Anthropic. There's a lot of even smaller startups. And at the end of the day, what they're doing is they're leveraging those large language models, just like you're seeing for, you know, answering questions or writing articles or generating images. They're just doing it to generate code. And then
Mhm.
through tools like AI Studio, it's taking that code and it's running it. So you're actually not just getting code spit out, which is part of what it does do for you, but it also lets you have that visual component. They host it for you so you can kind of hand it out and share it to other people. So it's really kind of a fully wrapped offering. But one of the things Mike did mention was this idea that um, it's really about kind of like starting an idea, taking an idea, seeing if you can build it into something, or if you have these almost throwaway apps where you just need to build something that's a little more visual or a little more interactive. Prototyping is really kind of the term that's often used, and that's really what Google AI Studio excels at, is that rapid prototyping.
Yeah, I would say, and you'll see as we kind of mess with this, at least Google AI Studio. Um, I would not, I don't think these apps are to the point where they're really ready for like enterprise deployment. These, in my mind, right now, are really things you're building for yourself or maybe a few others. Most of the apps that I have are just things to help me optimize like what I'm doing, as opposed to trying to build big, broad, you know, district wide apps. I built one like that. Um, it worked. I mean, quick version. Typically, every year we have a holiday incentive around bingo, where everybody has a bingo card, and there are, you know, um, take a walk in the winter or whatever the different bingo options are. It was always on paper. I asked Google to basically build me an electronic version of that. Um, so that required a login and it needed to be shared across the district, and it worked. Um, but we'll talk about that one a little bit later, kind of some of the downsides. I just don't think that at least AI Studio right now is at that level. And I would argue I haven't used Claude's coding engine or ChatGPT's OpenAI's. Um, I don't think many of them are at that level either yet. So keep that in mind, is that these are great for one-off tools, but we're not to the point where I think you're going to, start rewriting whole packages and getting rid of software because of this.
Yeah.
So I went to aistudio.google.com. Chagrin's a big Google district, so this was kind of the tool that I chose to use. Some things before we get into it, they do have a gallery of apps that have been created by other people. So if you're struggling with ideas, things like that, you can kind of go through and see what others have done. All the apps that you created will live in the Your App section. But we're going to go back to start and we're going to build one. So it's all natural language. So I'm just going to say, I need to be able to track when employees take leave. I need to know whether it was I'm leaving the mistake, whether it was a sick day, personal day, or a vacation day. Can you build me for this? I probably don't even need that last line, but we're going to hit it anyways. So very, very simple instruction, right? I need to be able to track when employees take leave. I need to know whether, spelled wrong, it was a sick day, personal day, or a vacation day. Can you build me an app for this? And you'll see right now over on the left-hand side, it's doing its work. Usually that first iteration takes between 30 seconds to 2 minutes. I'm going to guess this one's done pretty quickly, Kevin, but we'll see what we get here. Side note, while you wait, those of you that are coders, you can actually go into the code and see everything that's being created, and you can modify it on your own. Oh, all right, my app is done, I think. It looked like it was about to be done. You can go in there and modify it. So if you are somebody who has a coding background and there's things that you want to change on your own, you can do that. Really interested to see what it builds here. It's always fun to see what the first iteration looks like. Looking at what they've got, they're building a dashboard, looks like an employee list. I see it says AI insights. So here we go. Maybe. Okay, so here's what it built me kind of on the fly. So just looking at it here, it's got some pre-created employees. I can add, I'm assuming if I hit record leave, I can add a new leave. Say this person was out from here to here. Say it was a vacation day, create record, and it adds it into the system. Looks like I can add employees here. And then AI Insights is something that Google's been doing where they actually try to build AI into your apps. So I can ask anything about the leave data, and it'll kind of do it on the fly, right? So what day of the week are most employees out? Or that's probably not the best. Day of the week is the most likely for an employee to be off. Let's see what it says. So it builds this little AI engine kind of right into it. Looking at some of the other features, again, we got the dashboard, just a general record of leaves and employees. We're going to see what the AI comes up with. Just thinking out loud, while this is taking longer than I wanted to. So I'm going to go back to leave records. So we asked it for vacation, sick, and personal, right, Kev? Let's say we wanted to add, I forgot, I also need a category for unpaid leave as well as FMLA. Additionally, I need to have a place for an employee's email address. So again, I'm not, as you see as I'm writing, I'm not asking it to write any code. What I'm telling it is what I need the app to do. I need to add some additional leave types and on I missed it. I didn't see it was already there. Whoops. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what AI does with it. One of the other things we're going to do here in a second is one of my favorite questions to ask the little coder person here. Let's see what we get though. So at any point, kind of along the way, you get a checkbox. See that checkpoint here, checkpoint here. If I were to give it instructions and absolutely hate what it's done, I can always go back to a previous version, right? It's going to saves automatically, but I can always jump back to a previous version. So if I go to leave records now and I go to record leave, now I've got unpaid and FMLA as an option, right? Discard this. So here's one of the things that I absolutely love doing. Google gives you some suggestions down here. AI features. Do we want to add a leave balance? Maybe add enhance the leave calendar. Here's the question I typically ask when I'm building apps. What are 5 additional enterprise level features I might want to add to this app? So Google's going to go out, think for not too long, and give me 5 different things that I might want to add. So the fun part is I can say, I like options 3 and I don't know, let's go 5. Can you please incorporate those? So it has come up with the idea of adding document management and compliance storage, as well as some AI-powered predicting. And it's going through, it's letting me know exactly what it's going to do, and you'll see it's kind of building everything out. So again, not writing any code myself, just asking the AI to kind of build it for me as we go. While we wait for these things, some couple other things to show off. Over here gives you an idea of what it would look like on your current screen, mobile or tablet. So if you're working on a specific, like I have one for baseball that I built specifically for mobile. So I tend to look at it on what it's going to look like in mobile. If my app is acting up, I can always reload it from right here. And this one over here just throws it in the full screen. All right, so it has added a number of things. Let's see what we got. So here's my resource planner, which was option 5. Before we do that, let's add a few more records just to kind of fill it out a little bit more. Kevin, have you played with this much at all?
I was actually playing with it over the weekend after you were showing me kind of some of the work that you had done. I only had gotten into a very small project with it though, but I was impressed with just the rate and speed that it generates the code. Um, I was curious, just do you find that you often do like the conversational style building, or do you try to really think ahead around like what are the main features you want, making sure that you're more articulate?
So great question. Kind of depends what I'm building. In this one, because we're kind of building it on the fly, I'm more conversational. Typically, when I'm building something for myself, because it's my own workflow or my own idea, I'm pretty specific in terms of what I need it to do. Um, I haven't done a ton with the layout. I feel like one of the things I
Mm.
really like with AI Studio is the layout it creates tends to be pretty good. I've had a couple that I'm like, ugh, we're not on the same page, and I'll just kill the app and start over.
Yeah.
Um, um, but yeah, again, depending on what I'm doing, I will usually I'm a little bit more specific. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
I coded on that soccer lineup one, I was very clear that I wanted it to be drag and drop, that I wanted to be able to hide players who weren't going to be attending, that I needed a first and a second half. Like I really um, kind of was specific. Other ones, this whole what are 5 features has been super helpful. Oftentimes, of the 5 things that it'll suggest, 2, maybe 3 have some merit. But I've definitely used them and, kind of built it off. So just looking at what it did, based on all of our fake employees, um, it's letting us know that, hey, Alice Thompson, who's a senior developer, has a 6-day absence in May, and there's no overlapping leaves right now, but this could be problematic if somebody else is gone during that time. I'm not going to read all of them, but nice little feature there. And then the documentation one was less than great. So I don't know if anybody saw it. Instead of giving me the ability to upload a document, it really just gives me a link, right? Which I think in my mind, I was looking more for a file upload, but I didn't specify that. So it kind of gives you the idea of how some of these features and changes go. Sometimes they're really good. Sometimes they're not exactly what you were looking for. Out of curiosity, anything you might want to add to this one, Kevin? I'm going to put you on the spot again.
So I was thinking about like currently I was trying to figure out is tracking days. Could we maybe adjust it so it's tracking by hours versus days? What does it do with that? That was one thought I had. And then we don't really have an approval process, so I thought it would be interesting to prompt it to, be able to create some managers or when you add employees, adding a manager role perhaps, and then being able to say this employee has this manager.
With the ability to add an approval process depending on who is requesting the leave. So I took pretty much exactly what Kevin just asked me. Can we do hours instead of days? And can we add an approval process?
So while it's generating, I
Yeah,
was
go
going
ahead.
to ask you a question. From our prior conversation, you had shared that you had connected some like backend databases and some actual storage. You made the comment that the document store was really just URLs; it wasn't storing
Yeah.
documents. Are you going to get to that? So I don't want to jump ahead of you if you were going to show that, but I was just curious
So
about how that worked with regard to this.
I can pull it up. So that was one of the things that, yeah, this is a great time for this conversation while it builds it out. So one of the things that I noticed about building all these little apps is they work great on my machine because it's saving all the data locally on my machine. But if I then go to a different computer or my phone and want to use an app and I need to see historical data, it's not there. So I did work on connecting these things up to the cloud. This is where it gets a little bit trickier, right? So essentially what I had to do, Kevin, was I had to ask Google in the code assistant here I said, I need to be able to store this data in the cloud. We went back and forth quite a bit on my first app, trying to figure out common language. Ultimately, what Google said was you could use, I think it's Firebase. You can use a Firebase database for this. And what it did was actually build right into one of my code. I'll go over here. There was probably the index. There was one that just literally said Firebase. I opened it up and I had to go out to Firebase, create a database, which was essentially point and click, and then take the credentials it gave me and paste them back into the app. That worked in the sense that it began to save my application data to the cloud correctly. The problem is that the security of that isn't great right now. So on that particular app, the data, if it were leaked on the internet, didn't matter. So I wasn't super worried about it. But when we talked about things just not being ready for the enterprise level yet, that was one of the problems. I would not put any data that had any meaning to me out there yet, because again, now to its credit, there are ways to secure it.
Sure.
I feel pretty good with my ability to code and all of that. And I stumbled immensely trying to get over that hump to the
Hmm.
point that I've kind of put it to the side right now. So I would just caution anybody, yes, it's doable 100%. I think it will get better and easier for people, but that is something to just think about when you're building all of these.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Um,
know, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I noticed in the chat as well, there was a question from Mark about, is what we're doing right now, is it free? Or are we paying for tokens and things like that in order to use the AI Studio? And it's actually a very apt point to kind of make when you talk about the cloud connection. So Google AI Studio is free to use, like using these tools and stuff is available from the research I was doing, but that's the cost starts to kick in when you're trying to go beyond this like prototyping concept and you're looking at Google Cloud and creating Firebase and connecting it to all of these services that lets it live beyond your local
Yep.
machine. That's typically where the cost starts to kick in, as you're starting to actually utilize these paid services and integrating them into the product.
I built one. I don't remember. I don't remember what the app was, but I was playing with it and and connected it to the cloud. And instead of using Firebase, I was using Google SQL something,
Yeah.
um, and all this immediately began getting charged. And it wasn't much, but the cost racked up pretty quickly just for me in a prototype environment to the point where I'm like, okay, this isn't a viable option in the real world because
Hmm.
it's going to cost too much for what it does.
Yeah.
Um, all the ones you're seeing today that do have a Firebase in the back end, right now, I've managed to keep everything on the free plan. But again, it's really just me and my data. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think if I were to attempt to build something for the district as a whole that would be accessed on a regular basis, um, it could get interesting. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So just looking quickly here, um, so we asked it to change to hours, which it did. If I go into request, now I've got hours as opposed to days. So I've got oh, look at that. And I think it's going to give us, oh, okay. So I'm already seeing this one. Alice Thompson, notice the button is now changed to submit for approval. If we go over to,
Oh yeah, you have different approval levels of standard, manager, and executive now.
you do, the question is, how do I, all right, so here's a great example of where AI can be super interesting. It didn't really give me an option anywhere to edit whatever approval workflow, right? So I have to come
Hmm.
down here and say, I don't see how I can edit the approval path. Help. So there are times when that happens, right? So it builds things in and then um, doesn't give you anything.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that I've noticed is that if I tell it to build me an admin panel, it'll build me an admin panel, but then it won't actually tell me the admin login until I ask it specifically, hey, you built this great admin panel. What's the login? And then it tells you right away.
Yeah.
It doesn't spit it out as part of the. Yeah, my hope is just while we let this one build, my hope and my expectation is that as this whole vibe coding concept continues, because again, all the major platforms have some version of it. I think you're going to see things like cloud hosting, uh, stronger integrations, and really being able to do some um, real enterprise level work, I think you're going to see some of that happen. I know you and I talked, Kev. I don't want to show it off on this one, but I did create one that interacts directly with the Google Admin Console. So,
Hmm.
I mean, be honest, what I was trying to do was looking at a way to, when someone leaves an organization, oftentimes you need to leave their account active for 30 days for a variety of reasons, payroll, other things, giving them time to transition, et cetera. But then what can end up happening is it gets lost in the shuffle and you don't ever deactivate their account, or not that you don't ever, you don't do it in a timely manner, right? So what I was looking for was something that when somebody left, I could essentially put an expiration date on it. Google doesn't have that built in right now. And so I was working on that. And I'm like, well, for this to even work, I've got to be able to connect into my Google admin domain. And I, I was able to do it. I had to ask code what to do. And it's like, do this, do this, do this, go here, click this, and you can do it. Sure enough, it worked. Again, not going to show it off here, but I mean, I think what you're going to see is all of that is coming, you know?
Yep.
So now if we go approval path, it looks like it created 3 different pathways: standard, manager. Oh, look at this. So let's see what happens now. So if we go new request, Alice is standard. She's going to take a vacation tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know what happened. So I don't see
I think it
any.
just created paths, but it didn't actually link them up. So this is where the business
Yeah, so
logic is the term that we usually use in programming. It's a little lost on the AI. It doesn't quite understand what the intent is and what you're trying to accomplish.
yeah, and I mean, I can just say that. How do I link it? And it will probably then go and say, oh, yeah, I should probably do that for you.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm glad we did this one together. Oh, look at that. It says it uses the level property assigned to each employee. So on that, Alice was standard. It's supposed to go to the HR manager. Huh.
Which
Well,
is
I'll have to
who
play with it
you
more.
are.
I don't see an HR manager.
You are the HR manager. You're logged in if you look in the upper right corner.
And I am, but so where is it? I don't see where my approval,
Well,
but
it
clearly
doesn't.
it's doing something because it's
Mhm.
still building. But I'm glad we did this one on the fly because this gives you a pretty authentic version of what this can kind of look like, right? It's not perfect out of the gate. You do get a pretty good looking application, but you got to work with it and figure out. Oh, look, now it's got HR review required. But yet I still don't have any place to go where I would, as this request will be held. Great. But yet,
You need an inbox.
yeah. So again, we could sit here. Oh, pending approvals. One, it even tells me that there's a pending approval. It just doesn't actually give me, um, please build the area for the HR admin to approve pending requests. So I don't know while this happens, is there any other questions in chat? I know it's kind of been all over the board in terms of what we're doing, but I think what I would tell everybody is get in and mess around. You know, I've done this presentation a few times, and what I've seen. Oh, look, Kevin, I will create a dedicated approval inbox. So it
I've
it,
written a few programs before.
it knew it was like, ooh, you're going to want an approval inbox. Um, but I would say get in there and just play with it, mess around, have it start building little things for you. Some of the ones that I didn't bother to show off, which are not very exciting. Like I get invoices on our copiers and they're not broken down by location. It's just like a running list. The location is in there, but it's not easy to understand.
Hmm.
Approvals inbox. So I have one that looks at those invoices and it will break it down by wait, now I can't.
It doesn't think there are any, but if you go to the leave
Okay,
log, you show, yeah.
we'll do one more. Let's pick a day. Oh, but here's something that's interesting. So I didn't pick a day. It builds some of that logic in for you. So things that like again, back in the day, you or I would have had to code in, it
Yep.
automatically does for you. All right, so now if I go inbox, so now I get Alice Thompson Engineering approve, right?
Excellent.
So what I was saying though to everybody is mess around, play with it. It is super fun technology. Um, you can do some really wild things. Um, just a matter of how creative you want to be.
Hmm. I agree. Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, just like as we were walking through this and in the hoops and the hurdles of prompting, asking, getting it to respond and react, it really stretches, both as a staff member and employee, but I'm also thinking instructionally, like it stretches that idea of, it's systems thinking, it's system design. So it's really like you have to start to, when I asked you the question before about, do you have conversations with the system or do you tend to front load it with a lot of the
Yeah,
details? It makes you kind of stretch those parts of your brain that you may not naturally use all the time and saying like I need to think from point A to point D or A to
sure.
Z and think through it because my wife and I make a joke that LLMs are large language middle schoolers and that they think like that. And so sometimes, as you're working with these different AIs, you find like, it's the peanut butter and jelly problem. How do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And they fumble, they have
Sure.
troubles getting from point A to point B. So just thinking more about what are you trying to accomplish? And this does remove the coding barrier, which is awesome, but then it really makes you put in the forefront is what is the business logic? What's the goals I'm trying to meet? How do I get from point A to point B?
And so on that point, just thinking about all that, I know that we built that app in 25 minutes
Hmm.
prior to AI. How long do you think it would have taken you to build a similar app?
To what we just did and with the
Yeah,
functionality it had.
yeah,
Easily, if I was sitting down for 40 hours, it would probably take me probably 2 to 3 weeks to cover all of that functionality.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that I think is some of the power in it too. Is we
Hmm.
talked earlier about prototyping.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's great for that. You can kind of build out what you're looking for. And again, whether you're taking, so I could imagine a scenario too where um, you are a district, you're a bigger district, and you want a custom app from somebody like a Learn 21. You could say, look, I want it to kind of do this. Here's like a prototype of what I want it to do, or here's what I made internally to make this work. Uh, make it better, make it enterprise level. Give me,
Yeah.
um, yeah. Again, I see Stacy hopped on too. Um, I've been vibe coding little apps now for like 4 months. It's super nerdy. I get it. I love it. I hope everybody who watches this webinar will give it a try too. Um, again, I like Google AI Studio. Google has another one called Canva, which is not like Canva that we all know, but it's Google Canva, which
Hmm.
has a little bit of a different feel to it. But I've heard people like that one. Um, I've heard and read that Claude is probably the best in terms of overall coding,
Hmm.
in terms of what it writes and the structures and all of that. Um, I've seen articles about people who have taken things that they've built here and then asked it to make it iOS ready, and they published it to the App Store. I haven't gone that far yet.
Yeah.
But I've seen. I mean, I've never looked at the app. I've just read stories or heard podcasts on those. So I think, again, depending on how much time and effort you want to put into it, I think there's a lot of things you could do.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like you're saying, it's the speed, the prototyping, the capabilities to get you from point A to point B so much faster. And that is probably the biggest win out of all of these tools. You don't have that, you know, if you have an idea, you
Yeah,
just jump in, you just start designing it, and you're exploring on your own. You don't have to, like you said, find a company to do it, but there is that threshold of when do you get to that enterprise level? When do you
yeah.
need people who have the skills in the background to make sure that, you're putting your security in place? You're not putting data out on the internet. I think those are also key takeaways that people should take from this is making sure that you're not accidentally exploring, but also maybe leaking student information or
I would, I
staff
would,
information.
I would definitely caution anybody who's playing with this to really avoid any kind of personal, all the stuff that I did. I think the farthest I went was in my soccer lineup. I used the real names of the kids because my soccer roster is publicly available. But of all the other things I've built, I'm not using uh, anything crazy or anything
Yeah.
private.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, Mike Daugherty, the legend in Ohio,
Legend.
for taking the time today and sharing the vibe coding with us. So it's definitely fun to see and get to explore with you. So thank you.
I appreciate you listening to my rants and rambles about vibe coding for the last 40 minutes.
I'm gonna go try and vibe code something Danny and I were working on yesterday, and she thought I was kidding in the chat I sent her, but I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna be a vibe code nerd now. It's gonna be awesome. So thank you,
I'm
Mike.
telling you, Erica, it's so much fun. Like when you take one of your ideas and it starts building it, and you're like, oh, that, yes, do that.
Hmm.
Like there's, it really is. It's super fun.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank
thanks,
you,
Mike, and
Stacey.
for anyone watching our recording too, make sure to check out edtechleadersalliance.org for upcoming webinars. The conference information is going to be there soon. I'm sure Mike will be a part of that in some way. So we're just really grateful for you, Mike, and stay safe and warm, and everyone. Thank you so much.
Again, thank you for having me.
Anytime. Bye, guys.
Bye.